Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Traders Reality. What are we talking about today? Well, a big options expiry is going to be coming into fruition, and Bitcoin must clear the 70,000 zone for these options to be in the money, because right now, it doesn't look like they are in the money, and $6.5 billion worth of options expiry is going to go to the pan if Bitcoin doesn't pull its finger out and start making a little bit of a movement. Now, we know that Bitcoin likes to follow the stock market, and we've just had news about the latest bond auction, which hasn't come in as great as we would expect. Naturally, AI has been killing it right now for the stock market, but where the big money is, now remember, we're talking about a $137 trillion market. That's the bonds market. If no money's going into there, we're going to have a little bit of a problem. The yields have spiked up. Now, that can only represent what? That investors genuinely think that the Fed may not be done. Are we going to get that one rate cut that they're all holding out for? Is the dollar dominance going to continue? Is Bitcoin going to just hurry up and break that all-time high? In today's video, we're going to be diving into it all just to help you understand what to expect going in towards the end of the month close, because this is a very important time for Bitcoin. Let's get with the program, ladies and gentlemen. So we get it all started off with this story about stock sliding and the yields going up. Now, the only reason that had happened is because we had a recent debt auction where the government, US government, offers out bonds and wants to see who's going to be picking them up because the government wants money. And that volume came in pretty low, which could be suggesting why the yields shot up. Now, just to get you to understand the importance of this and how it can impact cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is a small asset class in relation to the bonds market. So whatever the bonds market is doing is usually going to be mimicked over into the stock market. Now, when the yields shoot up, it means that investors are not looking at putting on risk. If we go over to this market surge, you can see that it says here, exposure is around 60 to 80%. Why is that important? Because it tells us that investors are pretty heavily involved in the stock market. So equity assets like your Nvidia, Microsoft, Google, all the main big stocks in the stock market have got investors committed to them. Now we've got the distribution days building up on the NASDAQ and the S&P. What does that mean? Well, it means that there's been more than average selling happening on the stock market. Now, with regards to this bond auction that hasn't come into play, it kind of gives us an idea that where money could end up going. And if it's not going into the bonds, it could end up going into cash, like the dollar dominance. So investors are retaining their liquidity, and they could be starting to pull some of that liquidity away from the stock market. Now, granted, the NASDAQ and the S&P are trading at significant highs. Now, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, going over to the 2-year bonds, if we just consider this story, if the yields are going up, it means that investors are not being enticed to spend their money and give the government its liquidity that it wants. So the yields going up means that the government is trying to advertise. Here you go. You will get a 4.9% return if you give us $1 million in a 2-year bond. What else can we get? Well, if we go to the 10-year bonds market, we're only going to pick up 4.5% return if we give the US government $1 million. That's not what investors are looking at right now. That's why the yields are moving up, because the US government is trying to advertise to the world, give us your money, you'll get yourself a nice return. So when the yields go up, it means that the stock market is going to suffer for that, because stocks can't handle high yields. And what do we mean by yields? The interest rates. The longer interest rates are high, the more pressure it's going to be on the stock market. But what we're witnessing right now is a rally that is being fueled by Nvidia, because everyone's going crazy for the AI markets. But then when we go over to Bitcoin and you pay attention to Bitcoin's behavior, would it be true? And let me know if I'm correct with this. But would it be valid to assume that Bitcoin is actually representing really what's going on in the marketplace? You've got yields going up. The interest rates are still high. Unemployment market is up and down, and the economy looks like it's doing okay. But we've got high interest rates, and we've got hawkish statements from the Federal Reserve. Yet the stock market is making significant highs. And then we've got Bitcoin down here, and it's not even able to clear its all-time high, which means this next part is very important for Bitcoin. The Bitcoin options expiry, 6.5 billion is due to expire on the 31st of May. Why is this important? Well, they need price to go above the 70,000 zone for that to come into fruition. Because if it doesn't, then there's going to be a lot of people in out of the money contracts. In other words, their positions are going to be deemed worthless. $6.5 billion worth of people favoring Bitcoin's price to the upside. And if Bitcoin cannot surpass the 70K zone from now going into the 31st of May, then we're going to see the Bitcoin volatility, but a lot of people are going to lose a bit of cash. Now, if we just go back into Bitcoin price action, you can see that Bitcoin today has been taking a little bit of a tumble to the downside. Yesterday, we saw some quite tricky behavior with Bitcoin, given it was the start of the week. And of course, we didn't have the full market activity, given that it was Memorial Day. But yesterday, we managed to exploit this for the members in the Platinum page of the website itself. We had quite successfully marked off all the moves. So Euro had come down, as you can see right here. We saw Euro break down. She came down into the psychological ranges. So that was one setup that was done correctly. Gold also came down as well. And not too deeply, but oil made the move to the upside. They completely cleared the range and took out our $80.10 mark. We also go into the actual Bitcoin right here. We anticipated Bitcoin to start working up, and this is where I was encouraging everyone to start offloading in preparing for shorts. And from that point, Bitcoin came down, and that was good news right there. And then, of course, we went into Ethereum. Ethereum took a little bit of a stab to the downside. She came down, and then, of course, Solana also moved lower. But there were two setups in Solana. We expected it to go up, and then we anticipated that this range right here would effectively bring price back down to the sum of what it did in yesterday's market. Now, quickly going over into Bitcoin and highlighting key areas that Bitcoin needs to hold. So because we're on a bit of a time schedule when it comes to this options, we look at Bitcoin's price action right now and we can see that the 70K zone is roughly around 3% away. So can Bitcoin move 3% from now up until the options expiry? Well, what we've got to take into consideration is in the week itself, we do have some data that could move Bitcoin. Now, going into tomorrow on Thursday, we have the unemployment claims and the pending home sales. Now, these readings right here may bring some volatility in the stock market. Now, if we do see the pending home sales coming in higher, they're projecting it to be lower. But if they do come in higher, then that would then suggest that the economy is doing great. On top of that, if unemployment claims come in lower, but they are projecting it to be higher, only marginally higher at 218,000 from a reading of 215. If the unemployment claims come in lower, that again is going to be killing the idea of the Fed cutting the interest rates, because they need people to be unemployed, because the less people out there working, the more than likely they're going to be going out there spending money, which is naturally going to get pushed onto manufacturers to increase the cost of their goods, which the consumer will naturally absorb because they are in work. To put it into perspective for you, ladies and gentlemen, we need Bitcoin to make a 3% move to the upside to clear the 70,000 before the 31st of May. Now, if Bitcoin can do that, then that's going to be good news for the Bitcoin options expiry, guys. But if it cannot clear the 70,000, then that's going to release that 6.5 billion options, and people are going to lose quite a bit of cash, and then it all restarts where they believe Bitcoin's price is going to end up in the future. That's where you'll then start to see options traders believing that maybe Bitcoin could end up lower, which is where we could see Bitcoin come back down again. But remember, as long as Bitcoin can sustain itself between the 67,000 and the 69,000 zone, which I do believe it's going to achieve from now until the options expire itself, then any volatile movements to the upside and price does break above the 70,000, make sure that you are taking some form of profit from the marketplace, because what we're doing right now is we're trading, or effectively getting ready for a volatile move that's going to happen in the next couple of days. And if the volatile move works in favor for the Bitcoin options, guys, then Bitcoin needs to close above the 70,000 zone. If it doesn't, then there will be a massive rejection from the 70K region and Bitcoin will come down, which will then trigger more buyers to step in and buy the Bitcoin in and around the 64 to 65K range. That's really ideally a scenario for the holders, okay? Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I hope today has served you in some way, shape or form. If you are new to the channel, be sure to like and subscribe on the way out. And I will be checking in with you all again tomorrow for an update on the marketplace. Take care of yourselves, gang. Mad love and respect. Peace.